this. Yep, and then we should be all ready to go. All right, how are we doing? Okay, there we are. Well, greetings. Hope everybody's doing well. This week, I can say was a little bit of a difficult week. You might wonder if I ever have great weeks. I'm not sure, but there's some good moments and there's some off moments. hmm This week was chock full of some off moments. Um, it's like that, so I can share that with you. Um, Even if at the moment I'm just talking to me. Actually, I thought about this week too. How I like to use the second person often, and it's partially related to sort of I guess you could say I'm talking to myself or to in a way different versions of myself sort of, um, or it could just be the bigger I, like the you could say the all-encompassing I that's talking to the ego I or the little I or the I of this moment. You know, it's the I of all moments talking to the I of this moment, and and usually that talk that language is usually if it comes like that is pretty supportive, I have to say. Um, I mean, there are times when I talk to myself very harshly, and sometimes I'm not sure if that's the 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 bigger I talking to the the present I. I'm not sure if it's like that. But specifically, in terms of poetry, well, maybe not this poetry, but in terms of a lot of the poetry and songs where I speak in the second person, like you do this and something, and you. Usually, that's a case of of the bigger I or the higher I, the eye of many smaller eyes. You know what I mean? That eye is talking, and so it's that eye is speaking from a higher perspective, right? Looking down, you could say, and seeing the the whole play. You know what I mean? And that way, um, listening to that talk can put many things in perspective, I think. So, what a thing happening in the world, but I am not sure I want to talk about that, but it's the worthiness, this idea of worthiness. Um, I can I've it's been hard, but I can compare myself. Oftentimes I can compare myself to like other people and what other people are doing and that kind of thing, and also compare to a peer group, you could say. Sometimes I like to do that too. I'm not sure if it's good for me, but I end up doing it. Sometimes just it just happens. And then I question the worthiness, right? I question the worthiness of what I'm doing, where I am, all that stuff. Um, where I thought I was gonna be, maybe, where I want to be, where I wanted to be. Um, I don't know if that's all that healthy, but it happens, right? It happens. So it was something today when I was outside and just doing stuff in a place where I've been working for a while, in the field where the potatoes and the sweet potatoes are. I've spoken about that before. And I looked up and I saw an elm tree in full foliage, you know. There was one maybe 2 or 3 years ago at the front, um, an elm tree in full foliage, and it died. You know, most it's rare. The mouse. Anyways, one of them had chewed through the net. Somebody was caught in a net. Either it was the lion or the elephant or somebody big was caught in a net, and it turned out that the mouse had chewed through the ropes of the net in order to set the animal free. The big animal. You know, I think that's one of Aesop's fables, or one of them anyways, but worthiness. Worthiness. And I think, you know, it's not to get into a big argument of, you know, society and climate change and so on, and whose way of life is better, and then criticizing people for whatever they do or don't do. And, you know, it's not really it's not really about that at all. Um, but the thing is, you know, is I don't know. So yes, it's the insects and the fungus that take down the big elm, right? So that's also a discussion of worthiness. But it's also, I don't know why this elm that's there is doing okay, right? Why is that elm that's there doing okay? I don't do anything specifically to try to keep it alive. I don't do anything specifically to try to kill any of its enemies, or anything like that. You know what I mean? I think there's an element of, you know, I've said it before, but the sanctities of life, right? Appreciation of sanctities of life, because you really don't know what is supporting what in that sense, right? We're not really in the soil looking around to see what's going on. We don't know the things that are happening. I also talk about it in terms of the mosquito, right? So now we have lots of mosquitoes, and of course I don't like mosquitoes in that sense, you know, but truly I have no idea what purpose they serve. I don't like them, you know what I mean? They bother me, so on and so forth. And in some cases they can be deadly, but really I don't know what purpose they serve. So it's an appreciation of sanctities of life, you know. This weekend, we're having a wellness fair at the Manatic South Market here at the Swan, River Road, Ottawa. And yeah, so there's going to be a whole bunch of new vendors who maybe we haven't seen before at this market. So nice to welcome them in um, and see what they have going on. Everybody has different ideas and views of what constitute wellness. So, you know, there'll be personal care, body care, crystals, food, art, you know, some music. I said personal products, you know, squishies and things to kind of regulate systems, I guess, and lots of stuff, you know. And it's also nice to see just how different people view and think about the concept and the idea of wellness, right? You know, financial wellness, I don't know, right? Or just emotional wellness, total wellness, whatever it means. So, you know, we're going to have some discussions about that and some dance workshops and talk workshops and qigong workshops, and that'll be happening both Saturday and Sunday. Sunday I'll be playing, yes, and I'll be doing some singing. Maybe I'll do a little singing tonight, who knows. In the meantime, I'm just trying to vibe on this idea of worthiness. And of course that's related to wellness, because if you're not considering anything that you do or anything that you're about to be worthy, then it's hard to be well. So, right? Mm-hmm. Let's see. Maybe I'll do it. Whoops, mosquitoes. So my favorite spot on this farm is the woodland, and usually I go there in winter. It's much nicer in winter. Um, Lots of stuff is going on. Now I have a mosquito, which I don't like. We'll see what I'll do. So, anyways, I went to the woodland in the winter, and this is probably a couple years ago. That's the this song that I'm about to play. And so the beautiful thing about this woodland is I can go and kind of, even though I can still hear the sound of the street out there, I can just feel kind of in another time. I don't have to necessarily be in 2026 or 2025. I could even be in a different place, you know what I mean? Who knows where I am in that sense? Just know that I am where pine trees grow or where spruce trees are or where there's snow or something or the other, right? But I guess I guess what I'm saying is in the woodland you can kind of get lost. And and that's where this song came from. Stories and lessons. Let's see if I can get it. Okay. What are the marks measuring passage of time in the forest, in the ocean, outside of human-built environments? What are the marks measuring passage of time in the forest, in the ocean, outside of human-built environments? What stories to tell, what lessons to give, stories of seasons and timeless reasons. What stories to tell, what lessons to give, stories of seasons and timeless reasons. What are the marks measuring passage of time in the forest, in the valley, outside of human forced imaginations? What are the marks measuring passage of time in the mountain, in the valley, outside of human forced imaginations? What stories to tell, what lessons to give, stories of paths walked and crossed while living. What stories to tell, what lessons to give, stories of paths walked and crossed while living. What are the marks? The passage of time outside of human-built environments, outside of human-forced imaginations. What's really happening? That's the thing. What's really going on? sometimes if you're a little bit off the track of everybody else, then it becomes a challenge to find worthiness, right? Um, so that's again why I like this elm tree. I come back to this elm tree because elm trees are like really big. They're great. They're great shade trees. They're majestic. You know, you can see them from afar, and the spread or the canopy is so broad and it's great, an elm tree. You know what I mean? It's a lovely thing to have around. That doesn't make it more worthy in that sense than the fungus or the insect. It's just bigger, but still it can fall. Still it can fall. So. Okay, thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you next week. Woo hoo! Right. Okay.